Hello, welcome to Hemisphere, a podcast by Farai Gatora. I'm Farai Gatora. What's up? And today, in part one and in part two, I won't keep y'all in suspense. This is also going into part two. I'm talking the NFL. That is the National Football League, for those who might have been wondering. I watched the NFL. And I know not a lot of people agree with this pastime for a variety of reasons. For some, it's too violent. For some, they shut out Colin Kaepernick. And others still, they say they let abusers play. So many reasons. And we could go back and forth for days and days about the reasons and the reality. And I don't agree with a lot of things the NFL has done and still does. Some of the players are abusive men. And without being overly cynical, that could describe a lot of workplaces and organizations that we participate in that just aren't the NFL. It just doesn't get sent out in the company memo that the regional director beats his wife. You know, it's very complicated. And the NFL doesn't have a squeaky record. Okay. There are 1,696 active players in the NFL. Among them, players like Kelvin Beachum, Mike Davis, Bradley Bozeman, Harrison Phillips, DJ Moore, Jimmy Graham, Sam Hubbard, Denzel Ward, Dak Prescott, Justin Simmons, Jason Kabinda, Aaron Jones, Justin Reed, Kenny Moore II, Miles Jack, Tyrann Mathieu, Darren Waller, Corey Lindsey, Andrew Whitworth, Jerome Baker, Anthony Barr, Lawrence Guy, Cameron Jordan, Logan Ryan, Keenan Williams, Jason Kelsey, Cameron Hayward, Eric Armstead, Tyler Lockett, Mike Evans, and Derrick Henry. These 31 men are all Walter Payton Man of the Year nominees for the 2022 season that is coming to an end, and they're being recognized for their outstanding contributions in their communities. Many other players that didn't make the list do great things for a number of worthy causes. And I continue to watch football with its many issues because I enjoy it. And maybe that's selfish. There is trash, there is treasure. I'm trying to shed good and bad from my outlook personally. And slapping these labels onto things can sometimes be inaccurate or at least incomplete. I'm not siding with old white billionaires that own these teams. I'm not defending rapists that have been allowed to play in this league. I'm watching football to be amazed and inflamed and enraged. If watching football is the worst thing I do in my life, I can accept that. What's good, fam? This is part two. And in part two, I'm still talking the NFL regular season, but I'm talking specifically about some top moments, according to me. Some of the moments that stood out in this season, preseason, regular season, up to this point now where we are on the cusp. At least at the time of recording, I am recording this on January 14th in the year of our Lord 2022. So the playoffs are just about to kick off, and it's been an eventful season. Exciting, if you will. Fans were back in the stands for the first time since COVID hit, and just COVID be damned. People were in the stands and some fans wore masks, some didn't. That Omicron variant is a small price to pay to watch some sweet, sweet plays. I'll tell you that. But I want to focus on the action on the field and the sidelines, though, for this. So these are my top 10 moments of the 2021-2022 NFL regular season. They're not necessarily in any particular order, but except for the last couple. Like the top 3, I would say, are the most, okay, these were the most shocking, and everything else I kind of just hadn't bothered to rank them. Number 1, though, is worthy of its position. I probably feel like if you've watched the NFL or haven't been living under a rock for the past month, you might have an idea who's in number 1. But anyway, these are some moments that, good, bad, ugly, stood out to me. Tim Tebow at the tight end position in Jacksonville. That was an experiment that went nowhere. I was very, very shocked when I heard that news. Of course, Tebow, of the Tebowing fame, he did his heroics many years ago, but he'd been out of the league for several years, so it came as a shock to me that he'd been signed by Jacksonville. Of course, at that time, Urban Meyer was at the helm of the Jags and was hoping for great things. Was Urban Meyer. Of course, things played out very, very differently for him and the Jags. And Tim Tebow, who was the focus of this particular standout moment of the season. I feel like if I were an active NFL player, a current player, maybe I've just been out the league. I got out the league last year, or I'm struggling to get on a roster. I'm on the streets hoping for a call, or I recently got drafted. Whatever the case is, in and around the NFL, either as a active player or vying to be an active player, and I see something like this, I feel like I would have the rage of 1,000 suns if somebody who, first of all, played quarterback many, many years ago. It's a long time ago, that Tim Tebow played football. He played quarterback, but he's being brought in to play tight end, even as dozens upon dozens upon dozens of tight ends who've played in more recent years, at the tight end position can't get a sniff. I'd be pissed at that. The experiment, of course, didn't go very far, and Tim Tebow was cut not very long into I believe it was still preseason. So much for that, and all the very best to Tim Tebow. I'm sure he's not losing sleep. Cowboys versus Bucks, yo. What the fuck? This was week 1, and the Cowboys put up a show, yo. Like in the first NFL episode that I did, I talked about how I absolutely refuse to support the Dallas Cowboys for the sake of my health. I refuse to be on heart medication because of Dallas. So going in, I think a lot of people were skeptical, and rightfully so, of the Cowboys' chances. The Bucks were heavy favorites, just being fresh off of a Super Bowl win, the defending Super Bowl champs, with Brady at the helm, and Dak. There were still question marks about him and his fitness, his leg after that gruesome injury, and the surgery and recovery. This was his first game back, right into the fire against the Bucks. How would they play? And the Cowboys put up a fight. They had that very close. And I know there are no moral victories in football or in sports, but they held themselves well. They did well, and it was in some ways indicative of a different Dallas coming to play, and they are now in the playoffs. So we'll see what they do there, right? Brady returns to Foxborough, Massachusetts, for the Tampa Bay versus Patriots game. It was his first game back in Massachusetts after being a long-time Patriot, the Patriot, if you will. To say Brady is to say Patriots. You might say Belichick. To say Belichick is to say Patriots, but you get me. You get me. He returns to Foxborough. It wasn't at all a high-flying, high-octane game. It was a defensive battle with a lot of emotion. You can imagine on both sides. You got Brady, like I said, who played for this franchise for many years, had great success with them, returning for the first time to an organization that is, that had moved on from him, in some ways had moved on from him in a unceremonious way. Belichick, I'm sure, would have been chomping at the bit to show Brady that the Patriots way, the Patriot dynasty, all of that success that the Patriots had, that was on him. I'm sure that would have been, whether it gets says or not, because fucking Belichick, he's not talking about that shit in press conferences. He'll have his usual face on and that's it. You don't get no shit about anticipation and the hype and the whatever. But that was on his mind, and the Bucks pulled through. The Bucks beat the Patriots. I mean, it was just barely, but it was a riveting, enthralling matchup. Next moment, Aaron Rodgers and his topsy-turvy season. Am I right? Oh my gosh, from I'm gonna retire and do Jeopardy to I'm immunized. The immunized comment though, like, so I'm not the only one that tries to make smart with their words, huh? That's what I learned this season. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has that reputation, doesn't he? He just he seems to be very self-assured and very, or at least maybe in his estimation, I don't know if this is fair, but he's very smug, very self-assured, and he thought he would say he's immunized, and immunized, okay, you got the vaccine. That's what the average person's gonna think, right? If I say I'm immunized, I'm inoculated, people are going to assume that, oh, what you're talking about is a vaccination and you're vaccinated. It just felt like a deliberate misleading. And of course, he came out, and went on a social media blitz, and just hit the podcast circuit hard, talking about how the woke mob was after him and this and that. And I was like, oh, is it the woke mob? More so than you're just being held responsible for the things you say. Like, you can't be misleading. And I feel like he's a smart enough man to know that saying you're immunized in response to being asked if you're vaccinated, knowing very well that people are asking, are you vaccinated for COVID-19 with one of the, is it 3 or 4 approved COVID vaccines, and you talking about something completely different, but using words that imply or insinuate that yes, the things that you're asking me are yeah, I'm vaccinated. I feel like that's dishonest. That's just dishonest. And but man, throwing a ball well will cover a multitude of sins. Next moment, Urban Meyer being a messy bitch in Jacksonville, Florida. My goodness. Look, it's obvious that not every thing is transferable. Urban Meyer was a great college coach, like phenomenal. Ohio State is a historic program. He has a lot to do with that. Like, there is no taking that away from him. The transition to the NFL, though, that was unspectacular. If anything, it was damning to what had been a stellar resume. And it's one thing to lose. It's one thing to have a record like the Jacksonville Jags had. It's one thing to be picking, amongst the first draft picks yet again. When this was supposed to be, it's all coming together. We got a great quarterback. We have all these promising things in place. To the collapse that it was, like I said, it's one thing to have a terrible record, but to hear things like grown men were being talked to in the way that they were being talked to, and people were being kicked, and he's calling the staff that he hired incompetent and just talking to them poorly. That was a terrible look. And I don't know how you bounce back. But you're Urban Meyer. Someone will have you. That's the thing. You build up equity, I suppose, and professional sports are a great example of this. Like, not all sins are created equally. Like, your sins are much more livable with if you play well or know a thing or two about the game. So, but that was a mess, boy. Another standout moment, Tom Brady's 13-yard run versus the Bills in Week 14. I feel like I don't have to say anything. The man's 44 years old. He's running for 13 yards in live gameplay. And Brady runs like he's got a RV attached to his back. So he continues to amaze. And I think with Brady, like, just to kind of like tangent off into something else, I think we are seeing that the care or the amount of the way you take care of your body obviously has lasting effects. People in the old, like, people will talk about, the league is soft now and people just don't hit like they used to. And of course, that is very true. A lot of the heavy hits that characterized the game of football decades ago, like, a lot of that has been legislated out. It's still a physical game. Like, I really, it's hilarious to me when people, particularly old heads, who, they try to do the the little bro thing to current players. They'll always talk about that, but a lot of this is just also sports medicine evolution. Like, we can try to diminish what the league is and say people are soft. Like, I don't think there'll ever be anything soft about a 250-pound man running into you at full force, and with rage and fury to, because that's his job. That's how he puts food on his table. There's nothing soft about that. So I think just to even use that phrase is ridiculous. But it's also just different times, motherfucker. Like, why are you mad? Like, it's not our fault that y'all didn't have fucking equipment and medications to help your bodies recover in 1972. Like, it's such a weird thing, because like this goes beyond even sports, because people will do it to like older generations will try and like shit on younger generations, and it's like, why are you like, you're so mad that, well, I took beatings and I took bruises and you bitches don't know the half of pain. Like, I'm so sorry that we don't have to fucking toil the way you toiled. I mean, y'all developed the medications and the technology and the, ushered in the freedoms that we enjoy, but you're mad that we're enjoying the freedoms and the innovations that came out of your era. It's so weird. It is a very weird thing. Like, in 2022, let's be less bitter. Let's not be hating ass bitches. And that goes out to you, and you. Next moment, Josh Allen versus Josh Allen. And holy cow. This was a battle of the Josh Allens. Josh Allen, the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, and Josh Allen, defensive player for the Jacksonville Jags. And, people will say the diplomatic thing. Oh, well, you got to show up for every team. And you do have to show up for every team. But there's certain teams, the Jets, the Detroit Lions, the Jacksonville Jags. You see those on the schedule. You're like, and you're a better team. You don't even have to be like a top contender. You just, if we're being for real, like you're the Buffalo Bills. You looking at the Jags. You thinking we going in. That's a W. And then they went in there, and Josh Allen from the lesser team outshone the Josh Allen from the better team, and the Josh Allen who most people will readily think of when you say Josh Allen. And that was a highlight in that it was cool that two Josh Allens went at it. It was cool that they both happened to be on different teams. And then the lesser Josh Allen won. Not lesser as in he's a lesser player, lesser person, just the circumstances. Like the Jags are the Jags. So that was interesting simply for the fact that their names are alike. And these last three, I feel like you can put them in any order, and I would say these were the top three standout gobsmacking moments of the 2021-2022 regular season. And that Henry Suggs car crash, that was horrific. That was, first and foremost, Mike's sincerest condolences to the deceased and to her family, loved ones, and everyone that was involved and affected by this. There really is nothing I can say. To die a death like that is just beyond a nightmare. And it was jarring. This is Henry Suggs, wide receiver for the Oakland Raiders. Oh, excuse me, these are the Las Vegas Raiders. Look, y'all gonna have to fucking pick and fucking stay put. What the fuck is wrong with y'all? Y'all in Vegas, you're here, you're there, you're every goddamn where but the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, Raider Nation, I just had to. But yeah, that was a really significant moment in the 2021. Nothing to do with football, nowhere near a football field, but just actions have consequences. And I don't know what the latest is with Henry Suggs, but I hope this terrible tragedy can serve as just as a reminder, not just for the NFL. This isn't me like shaking my finger at some rich dudes and saying be responsible. Like, this can happen to anyone. I mean, I know people who've driven drunk. I've not driven drunk, but I've been tipsy and gone behind the wheel. And tipsy, drunk, buzzed, it's all it takes is that collision, and any one of us could be on either end. We could be the cause of somebody else's pain, or we could be the one who gets eliminated from this earth. So let's all make smarter choices in 2022 and beyond. Next moment number 2, Chase Claypool's shenanigans. I don't even have to go very far into this was towards the end of the season. Steelers were battling to stay alive in the playoff picture, and they were trying to go down the field. Time is expiring on the clock. Big Ben is giving it all he has, which isn't very much, but he's he is a shell of himself. But you see the man, he's out there, he's still doing what he can do to lead the team. And Chase Claypool, former Notre Dame athlete. So this is a dude who I watched many Saturdays, being a South Bend native, cheering for old Notre Dame. And he gets the first down, and he's doing the whole celebrating, hand goes and the point, like first down, there it is, we got it. And clock's ticking, tick tock, motherfucker. And his lineman comes and grabs the ball, and it's a whole thing. And all the fallout that happened with that, people calling him clown pool, and just everyone just being gobsmacked that this was a thing that happened on a professional football team done by a professional player at the most crucial time, and that was, I'm sure he was humbled. I'm sure it was a tough couple of weeks on his social media. I remember peeking on his Instagram. I don't follow him. I don't support the Steelers. But I just, peeked in to see, because you just know after a thing like that, the first stop, motherfucker, is your Instagram. You getting shredded. And boy, was he shredded. I believe he ended up turning off the comments for some of his posts just to survive the onslaught. And I don't know, you have to be a complete psychopath to not be shaken by an event like that. Like, I don't think even the most staunch narcissist can withstand a barrage of insults and attacks and just disappointment from thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people. Not to say anything of your teammates, your coaches, the people that look up to you, maybe even your family to a degree. I'm sure it was a lot, and hopefully the young man has learned and will use his immense talents to help his team, because that's going to be a teachable moment for many a junior league team. Like, y'all see that? Don't do shit like that. Don't do a Claypool. And the number one most outstanding, shocking, what in the fuck is happening moment of 2022, in my estimation, is Antonio Brown's exit. My God, do I even have to? That was just incredible. You want to talk about an almighty explosion? You want to talk about what in the fuck? Like leaving with a bang. Like, I ain't just going out like on a whimper. Like, it's fireworks. It's jets flying through the sky. It's a freaking earthquake and a volcano going off at the same time. That was just this thing that Antonio Brown did, the magnitude of it. So obviously there have been conflicting stories from both sides. Antonio Brown maintains that he was injured and was not capable of going back into the game and was being forced. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coaching staff, well, at least Bruce Arians, and he's been backed by, others in the organization, are saying, we weren't told anything of a sore ankle. We didn't see anything of a sore ankle in the game before. Nor did we have any information from our medical staff that he was bothered by his ankle. There were other issues that he might have been upset with, targets, not getting enough targets, and feeling as though he wasn't being involved as much as he should have. And those were the two stories that were coming out. And I gotta say, like, I'm all for player empowerment, all for player wellness. I just find this to be a little bit unbelievable on Antonio Brown's part, and it doesn't help that he has the reputation that he has, and of course, you never want to see a situation where, you don't get a fair case, you don't get a fair shake at redemption or being heard because you have you have priors, but it's hard to overlook some of the things he's done, and then to believe that this incident where he just throws off his shirt and his pads and runs off the field during gameplay, like, fuck waiting for halftime, fuck waiting for some kind of interval, we right here right now, bitch. And hey, that was that. I guess he's rapping now. I saw a song of his and heard a bit of it, and I'm like, oh well, shit. So yeah, that's it. That's the top moments of the regular season, according to me. What would you say were some top moments for you? What did you enjoy? What did you not enjoy? It could be on the field, off the field. It just has to be NFL related. Information to reach out is in the show notes as ever. Thank you so much for listening to Hemisphere, a podcast by me, Farai Gatora. We'll check you out next time. Have a good day.